Hell, internal war by spring. What do you think about that? Well, I have somebody who thinks that there will be, and he has a position that kind of leads him to know about those things. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. I'm going to read to you the message that he put up, and we will discuss that. Good morning, and welcome to Integrative Preparedness, the voice of reason in a crazy and chaotic world. Somebody wrote that to me not long ago, and I liked it. He says, "You're a voice of reason," or she. I don't remember what was a he or she. And at our channel, there are he's and there are she's. That's about it. But they said you are a voice of reason in a crazy world. I'm gonna start using that. I think. But anyway, welcome. If you're new to us, it's good to have you. We are a channel that doesn't try to scare the dickens out of you. We talk about positive preparedness, but we talk about all the horrible, crazy things that could be coming our way, but not in a way that should make you fearful. We want you to take your preparedness seriously and do it not in a fearful way, but a positive way, so that you're going to be able to come out the other end doing well. At the end, if you're new to us, at the end, my tagline is always, we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and the well is part of it. Some will tell you that can't be done. They're wrong. Those are people who simply won't put in the work themselves to do it. So don't you be like that. You stay with us. I want to read you here, before I get to the main topic, a message that I just got from Green 8 over on the Patreon channel. Now, if you're not with us on the Patreon channel, you can come join us. The link's down below, and it's a great place to be. There's so much more there than on YouTube. But it allows you to direct message me. I tell you, I stopped using email some time back because there were funny things happening with the email that just caused me some concern. But the best way to do is, but the Patreon channel allows you to message me directly, and it's a great way to communicate. It's one of the first things that I check every morning. Well, I got this from Green 8, and it's going to tell you a little bit about how you can help others prepare. Okay, and that's important also. As we get to the main message today, you're going to see how helping other people can be so important, and it's going to be a little bit of an ad for the first book. Anyway, he says, "Hi Steve, hope you and your family had a great Christmas and New Year's. Mine was great, and ours was great. Green and everybody else, hope yours was too." He says, "I've been very busy, but I finally finished your first Stonemont book 30 minutes ago." Let me show you guys, for you who don't know, the first Stonemont book is the Reversion. We'll get back to that in a few minutes. He said, "I had high hopes that it would show how seriously catastrophic things would get from a total collapse from full spectrum infrastructure loss due to hemp CME, as well as high hopes that it would show the extreme value of preparedness and working together to form a good life in the midst of extreme chaos and destruction." He's right. He goes on to say, "My hopes were answered and exceeded by a lot. I'm glad of that, Green. That's why I wrote that book and the 5 ones after that. My warning family and friends over the decades mostly fell on deaf ears." A lot of you know how that feels, right? "Your book perfectly articulates what I failed to convey. This book will be a never-ending tool for me to give away to people to wake them up. It's also a very enjoyable read. I'm glad of that. I tried to make it a great story, and people tell me it is. And I will be starting it over again tomorrow." As so many people have done that, he says, they've told me reading my books once is not enough. You're going to miss so much. You'll think you've picked everything up. When you read it a second time, you're going to say, "Oh, I missed that," because the story carries you along. And I'm not trying to brag on myself. I'm explaining the truth of what other people have told me. Some people have read it 5 times and say they're still finding things in there they missed the first 4. So let me continue with Greens here. "I will be keeping Amazon busy with more and more orders of this first book." Thank you. "I will also be ordering the complete rest of the set for myself." Good, and make sure you do that through me, Green, through our website, stonemont.us, so that I can sign them for you. All the books are available on Amazon, and the links are down below. But you can also get them from me directly, and then I get to sign them for you. You don't get them as quickly from me as you do from Amazon, because I run out all the time, and then I order more and I wait for more. I know, order more. Well, I keep on ordering more, and you all keep buying more, and I'm trying to catch up. Okay, he says, your Stonemont series is much, much more than a great read. Okay, I should probably hold up the series here. I didn't mean this to get into it, but I'll just do this quickly. The Stonemont series is the 6 books: Reversion, the Revival, the Renewal, and Appeal to Heaven, Blessings of Freedom, and Hostages to Fortune. That's the Stonemont series. He says the Stonemont series is much, much more than a great read. It is an extremely unique and extremely critical public service publication. Thank you. I believe it will potentially save millions of lives around the world. I would hope so, Green. That's very nice of you to say, and it was my intent when I wrote it. If they will read it. Yes, that's right, if they will read it. And yes, I mentioned before, the people have talked. There is talk. I can only put it this way. There is talk about possibly making this series into a movie. We will see. I would love that. We will see. More of these things get started than completed. So, I guess this applies to my Fath. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. That's right. Have a good evening and week, and New Year be safe, and God bless. And the same back to you, Green, and to everybody. We talk about how to get people involved in preparedness. We want the people we love and that we care about to be involved in preparedness, and it's difficult. And it can especially be difficult with people who know us well. Isn't that funny? I mean, around the world, I don't say this, I'm a big writer. I'm a big expert, right, to people around the world. To my family, I'm Dad, I'm Steve, I'm, whatever. They've known me for years. I always said that, when I was younger, and I went into law enforcement, I think my dad had a hard time taking a lot of the things that I said seriously, because he just remembered that I was the kid whose car always dripped oil on his driveway, right? Jesus himself said, a prophet is honored everywhere except in his own town. And so it can be difficult to get people to understand the importance of preparedness. And again, it's especially hard for people who know you. These books are a great way to get people so that it's an outside voice, a voice that when they read the book, they will understand the depth of that we go into, and it can get them on board. So great, Green. And I know I've had other people. I have one person who has bought, I think, 12 complete sets to send to people. What a great gift. And it's really not just the gift of the books, it's the gift of enlightenment and the gift of preparedness. They could very possibly be saving those people's lives in the future. And I don't mean that it was me. I mean, it was, well, I wrote them, but it's the person who gave the book. So anyway, Green, thank you very much. I'm so glad that you have enjoyed it and learned a lot from it, and that you're sending them out. Okay, now I'm going to read this comment that I got from Mad Infidel Prepper, and it was to, which one was this? This was to the one I put out a few days ago, Economic Collapse and UBI. Now, Mad Infidel Prepper, if you see him, go back there and you can click on his picture, and you can see his background. So I have reason to put stock in what he says. Okay, not only that, but I have the experience to be able to tell, to some extent, whether somebody else has experience or not. And that's why so many, if people come on here and they try to act all that and like they know everything, I can tell. I can tell they don't, or if they do. Okay, listen closely to this. We're going to be talking about the possibility of internal war by spring. Sorry, I'm shifting my laptop around here and it bumped into you. Hope you didn't get hurt. Says Steve, I had to spend the last couple of weeks reading the World Security Report for work. I transitioned into the private sector for a rather well-known belt and hose manufacturer with global interest in manufacturing facilities. I do threat analysis for the CSO, etc., Chief Security Safety Officer. But nobody in the world is telling the truth out of fear of raising public awareness. For instance, the Middle East CSOs are saying that kidnapping is highly unlikely in 24, as well as Mexico. That's BS. I mean, I'm not calling him BS. He's going to tell you that's BS in a second. The risk of kidnapping around the world is high. It gets higher the weaker our country is seen. That's why Mexico has been dangerous for years and years. The reports coming out of Europe claim that global warming is more likely than conflict disrupting business. China's report, I quit believing years ago. Yeah, right. My point is this. Here's his point. They have already taken out the human factor by basically factoring out civil unrest or terrorism other than economic espionage. And what he's saying here, he has a background to understand. I did time in intelligence myself, although most of the time in operations. But I was involved in the operation intelligence. Okay? A lot of the intelligence people didn't have, on the ground experience. I did, so I saw it from a different perspective. And I also saw that a lot of times they were right. A lot of times they didn't quite understand, because when you're looking at data separate from the human element, separate of being there and there, it doesn't bring the same understanding. And you can tell so much about something by what they don't say, right? Okay, it's not what they say all the time. Some of it's what they say, but a lot is what they don't say, and that's what he's getting to here. So let me repeat that last, because they've already taken out the human factor by basically factoring out civil unrest or terrorism other than economic espionage, right? This hasn't happened in this report until this one. Long story short, they are not concerned globally about the people factor whatsoever. The budget indicates the security updates, but they truly care less about the people we always put our emphasis on. This screams one thing to a guy like me who gets paid for their analysis. We will be involved in a war by spring right here in the States. We are gearing up for one. Did some checking, and lo and behold, our military contract is the largest it has been since 1942. We are going to war, buddy. As always, then he says a compliment. Thank you, mad infidel. Okay, did you, if you listened to that, I'm sure that several things occurred to you. Well, it looked like I'm back in the dark. But let's skip ahead of the things. I won't try to remake the case he's already made. Should we be concerned? The first off, yes. Should we be afraid and frightened and pulling our hair out? Of course not, because fear leads you to make stupid decisions. Okay, you waste time, you waste money, you waste mental energy. Should we be concerned? Yes, we should be concerned. We should always be concerned, because there are always things coming down the road that pose threats. But things like this, we need to take a look at and allow it to raise our threat profile. Okay, if that makes sense. Okay, we have an elevated threat. What do? Well, first is take a look and see, does this pose a different type of threat to the one that I am mainly preparing for? Okay, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. That all has to do with you. Excuse me while I take a sip. But you are the one who can determine that for yourself. As I always say, general and advanced preparedness is going to prepare you for pretty much anything. But does internal war, and we've talked about this, and we've talked about the possibility of civil war, and a lot of the people who talk about civil war don't really understand civil war. But yeah, I mean, I'm not cracking on them. I'm just saying that they don't really understand it, so they might be, if they're thinking about it improperly, they could prepare improperly. So an internal war, what shape will that take? Will it be a civil war, a true civil war? Will it be a balkanization with violence? Will it be a revolution? Will it be, excuse me, what will it be? Okay. There are those who will think that they can stay out of it. And I will always say that if you can stay out of a fight that really you don't need to be in, it's always best to do so. But the idea that a war could occur internally and not have an effect on you, very possibly a drastic effect on you, I think is being naive, or at least overly optimistic. You know, two of my favorite movies, and maybe yours too, one I'm sure is, and one maybe. One is The Patriot, and everybody knows that, right? Another has always been Shenandoah with Jimmy Stewart. And if you see the common thread in those two movies, both were about men and their families who had tried to stay out of a conflict that they thought posed great threats to their family that they wanted nothing to be a part of. Okay, and in the case of the Patriot, it was, of course, the American Revolution. In the case of Shenandoah, it was the War of the 1860s, improperly called a Civil War, and they just wanted to live their lives. They wanted to live their lives and be let alone. They said, "This is not my war. I've got my family." You know, interestingly enough, in both cases, it was a man who had lost his wife. Raising his family, you know, by himself. He said, I want nothing to do with this war. There was this, I believe, there was an underlying message that I've talked about so often, and that was these wars are not about what we are told they are about. They are driven by people behind the scenes for money. But, you know, that's where the old, hey, rich man's war, poor man's fight, right? And they drive things up. And the average person who's just trying to live their life and build something of value for their family being the first thing of value, tries to stay out of it, but the conflict absorbs them. And finally, they become involved. And they become involved in different ways in the different movies. I won't get into that. But what about you? What about each of us? If what Mad Infidel, you know, thinks might happen, happens. What if is there an internal war, a war here on American soil, between who? Could be any number of things. What if that happens? You might think that you're isolated from it if you live in a big city. Well, there's too many people here for them to mess with me. No, don't assume that. Don't assume that. You might think you're isolated from this or insulated from it if you live in a smaller town or a farm or rurally or, you know, somewhere there. No, you're not. Don't fall for that. If it comes, it's going to come. It's going to come in ways that most people, and even many of us with some experience, may not see. The battlefield of today is not just, you know, on the ground, although some of it is. It's technology. It's record keeping. It's all that. Don't think wherever you live that you will necessarily be able to keep yourself out of it. So my advice is this: assume that you won't be able to keep yourself out of it. Now, I would love to keep myself out of it, trust me. And here I'll give a plug for somebody else's book, Smedley Butler's War is a Racket. If you haven't read it, read it. It's just a little pamphlet. You can read it in a half an hour if you're a fast reader, and an hour if you're a slow reader. And it explains about war, the real causes of war, and how the normal people get caught up in it and slaughtered because the upper 1% want to make some money. So yeah, I would love to stay out of it, but I'm not under any misconception that I'll be able to, and that's what I would suggest you think about. I can't say what your plan should be because my plan may not be right for you, but you should think about this. War comes. Think about the different scenarios. Think about food shortages. Think about interruption of vital services, whether it's power, gas, electricity, fuel deliveries. Whether you have to make do with less fuel. No more fuel coming for your vehicles. If as a result of this internal conflict, the cyber war is internal also. What if your bank gets shut down? What if you're not able to make your mortgage payments because your mortgage or your and somebody will say, well, that's why you should pay off your mortgage. Well, okay, we're not going to get into the economic discussion there because there's reasons maybe you shouldn't. Okay, but even if you don't owe anything on your house or your land, what if you can't pay your property taxes? Okay, because it's all done electronically. And they've shut that down. Well, all sorts of scenarios. I could go on. I could write another 6 books on just this. I don't have time. I have others. But think about how it could affect you. And what if it was totally cyber? What if it was, and the different things would be shut down? How are you going to handle it? What if martial law comes to your neighborhood, to your city, to your town? To the bridge down the road that you use to get to the small town once a week, once a month. How you going to handle that? I think that anything is possible. Okay, I don't say anything can't happen, and the people who say, well, that'll never happen, well, they either haven't lived long enough or they haven't paid much attention while they have lived, and they are saying that they refuse to entertain the possibility of certain things. And when you refuse to consider certain things, that means you're not preparing for them. Even in the back of your mind. You don't have to go hog wild, but you need to be thinking about it so that plan is germinating back there. You need to think about it. Don't ever say something can't happen. Because sure as a dickens, as soon as you say it can't happen, there it is, happening. Okay. So anyway, take this. I think that Mad Infidel, by the way, Mad Infidel, thanks for that. Appreciate that. Give us anything more that you'd like to. You all think about that. Develop your own plans. I will interject here. If you're not with us on Patreon, the link is down below. We put a lot more over there than we do on YouTube for a number of reasons. We have an unbelievable community over there. So you don't just get extra stuff from me, you get a lot of stuff from them. Make sure that you join the daily chats. Every day I start a chat that everybody can be a part of throughout the day about anything that's on their mind, or sometimes I ask a question, sometimes I just let it roll, let people talk about what they want to. Yes, our website, my web guy, my son, is putting together a community section on our website. I'll let you know when that's done. We have a lot of exciting things coming up that I can't really tell you about yet. And if you haven't read the Stonemont Series, and you're serious about preparedness, I would suggest getting it and reading it be the very next thing you do. Okay? It is the complete plan for preparing for, surviving, and rebuilding after a complete collapse of everything. Again, there's 6 books: The Reversion, The Revival, The Renewal, and Appeal to Heaven, Blessings of Freedom, and Hostages to Fortune. People have been learning from these since the first one came out in 2017 all across the world. And you'll not only like the story, you'll love the story, but you'll get a lot out of it. You will. I've had preparedness experts and instructors tell me that they've learned things in here they had never thought of. I'm glad to hear that. I'm not trying to brag on myself. I should have somebody else do this, okay? Then it wouldn't sound like I'm bragging. I'm just telling you what other people have said. Okay. So if you haven't read them, they're available either through Amazon, the link's down below, or directly from me through our website, stonemont.us. And I love getting those orders through the website because I get to sign them for you, and I love my relationship with my readers. Which these books came out long before I had a YouTube channel. So I love my relationship with my readers just like I do with you all. If I could ask you to do something, would you make sure that you're subscribed to the channel? YouTube has been playing around, and people have been telling me a lot that they're finding they have been unsubscribed. One person said they had to resubscribe to this channel 3 times in like a week or a month, I forget. Okay, make sure you do it. Give it a thumbs up if you would. Give it a like, and leave a comment if you feel led to. You can just say, "Hey Steve," or you can write a big long comment and share this with your friends. We have a lot. I think 2024 is going to be an interesting year, and I use the word interesting, meaning there's going to be a lot of challenges, and we need to be ready for them. And the possibility of internal conflict, internal war, I'm sure not going to say that's not going to happen, because I take, when somebody with a background that makes me think I should take them seriously says something, I take it seriously, and I suggest you do too. So, hey, there you have it. Get out there and do something, because it's up to you. It's really up to you to take care of yourself and those who depend on you. And remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you on the Patreon channel, and be involved if you come over there with us. Get involved. You'll be glad you did. And you all have a good day. Bye-bye.